My name's Sara Bryant. I am the customer development specialist here with 3Shape Design Services. So if you on the traditional side of things or on the AI side, I can definitely help you out whenever you have any questions.
Awesome. My name is Bishop. I'm the Director of Design Quality here at 3Shape Design Services. So I work very closely with all of our designers, and I also work with the Automate team as well. So I help to, find out different opportunities of where we can bring AI into the space and see what we can do to continue helping our partners.
Perfect. And it looks like a lot of you have never used Automate before. You're in for a real treat today. For those of you that love it, I guarantee you'll find at least one tidbit out of what we're going to show you today that you didn't know you could do before. So definitely stick around. This really is going to be more an advanced class into Automate. It is being recorded, so we will share that YouTube link once we have it up on our site for you to go back and actually review later on if you need to. So today our goal for you is to have more confidence, to be more hands-off while still having total control over your cases. I know it sounds pretty contradictory, but AI really is there to be a tool for you to use in your business. It gives you the opportunity to go outside, get more other types of design offerings that you don't quite offer yet, to do more of the advanced aesthetics that you need to do, while still being able to, relay information to the AI system for what you're actually needing. We are 3Shape Design Services. Our headquarters is here in Glendale, Arizona. We have 3 customer support locations, one in Glendale, one in Kiev, and one in Costa Rica. We also have 2 design center locations, one in Costa Rica and one in China. Again, like I said earlier, 3Shape Design Services, we do have our traditional services, which is done by dental technicians. And then we have our 3Shape Automate side of things, and 3Shape Design Services actually provide support for both. So if you're needing help or have any questions on either, feel free to reach out to us. 3Shape Automate is there to assist you as the dental technician. So you're going to give it its inputs, the material, manufacturing settings, contacts, occlusion, material parameters, that really sort of thing. AI is going to design it, whether it's the crown, the coping, the night guard. We have simple models and now forming models as well. It's just expanding and growing. The options are really there for you to utilize. And then when it's done, you have the full capability of rejecting anything, accepting it, or modifying it. We really do have a great cloud-based editor that really saves you time without having to go through the steps inside of Dental System as well. 3Shape Automate, we have done over 1 million designs to date, which is really significant. We hit that mile marker about almost a month ago, I want to say.
Yeah, it was right around the beginning of March. So
really huge mile marker. We've only been, since April of 21, AI has really been up and running, and we've just expanded and grown since then. 91% acceptance rate on all crown orders, which is really significant because only 9% of the time it's not working out for you. That means that 91% of your cases you really don't have to touch. We have over 500 active users and we're in 27 different countries. We go right into scanning. Again, it's open to different object types, so you are able to send stone models, Trios or iOS scans, and impression scanning. We do have dental system integrations inside of Automate. You really should be on dental system 21, 22, or 23. I mean, at this point, I think Cole would even attest to this. I think everybody really should be at least on 21. If you're not yet, you're really missing out on all the nice benefits to it. You are able to bulk upload, bulk download, bring your designs back into your dental system and edit them there if need be. So that is a full capability option to you. This is a short little video just on how to get that button installed, actually how to send it. So you're going to just highlight your cases. You're going to click the upload icon, choose your turnaround time, click the upload button. Once it's done, there's an application status inside of your dental system you can turn on. You can see that it goes straight to automate from the button itself. So you don't actually have to export out any orders. You can review it directly on the site. When you click the review icon, you go through your steps for QC imaging. And then as soon as you're ready and you like the case, you can click either accept as is or accept for editing. When you click either one of those, you're going to go back to your dental system. You're going to click the download icon. There it is. You're going to click the download icon, and it's going to pull the case back in like you designed it yourself. From there, you really have the ability to edit and manufacture your case like you designed it yourself. What's nice is the two differences on those automate buttons is that accept as is automatically produces those manufacturing files for you inside of your dental system in your manufacturing directory. Accept for edit allows you to edit the design. It doesn't produce those files automatically, and you're able to edit like you're seeing here. You just walk through the steps to the part that you actually want to change, whether it be a cusp tip, the margins, contacts, any area you really want, you can change that. So we're just going through the steps here and seeing how easy it is. It's like the normal functionality that you have when you design a case yourself.
Guys, I think it's really simple too. Just to point out, as far as getting this integration into your dental system, it's very, very easy. We can show you that process as well on how to open up your control panel and download the library. It's free. It doesn't cost you anything. Same thing with trying automated. It's not going to cost you anything. You only pay for what you download. So I think that's a really powerful tool that you can have available to see, you know, what's going to work best for you as far as the AI design.
Yeah, definitely. The next portion here is dentist dependent CAD settings. This I honestly truly feel is the #1 thing that you can set up inside of your 3Shape to be the most productive within Automate. Whether you set it up as just doctors, which takes quite a bit of time, or like me and Cole really suggest is setting up profiles for different groups. You can assign a doctor to a group and really choose that group in your drop down for when you're setting up your orders to send. I have a short video on how to do all of this. I didn't know if Cole, do you have any input to put on this one?
Yeah, I would just say one of the most common areas I see this is if you have several different finishing technicians that have a little bit of a different preference as far as, you know, contacts and occlusion. This just makes it really nice because all of this information as far as your CAD settings for materials and manufacturing is going to travel with the case. So whatever you select when you're creating that 3Shape order, as far as your doctor specific dependent CAD settings, that's going to automatically override whatever you have inside of Automate. So if you batch upload, you have, you know, 3 different technicians that have a little bit of a different standard on how they finish crowns. It makes it really nice to be able to, you know, sort that for them so that they know exactly what they're going to get once the case gets centered and milled and ready for them to finish.
Yeah, great point. I forgot to mention that. Here's a little video on how to set it up. You do go in your control panel into your site settings under dentists. And here you can see that I've just made 5 different profiles. I've made 1 for a doctor, and then I made 4 others for different groupings that I would put somebody in. You're either going to change your cut distance to neighbor, or you're going to change your cut to opposing, I believe is what it says. You're going to upload the case, you're going to create your order, choose that doctor or that profile in your order setup. And when you send it to Automate, you're going to see down here that your your settings that you chose are being honored, because Automate will tell you that it used CAD settings from, and I used heavy occlusion as my profile for that one. Or if you did Dr. Cole, it would say CAD settings from Dr. Cole. It's a really nice feature. I can't stress this enough. If you put the time and effort to set this up, you don't have to change your cases on the fly anytime you have Dr. A with different settings than Dr. B. It automatically just reads it and designs it by the profile that's chosen. I can definitely help set you this up. If you need any help whatsoever with your control panel, getting in there, finding the weeds of all of this, definitely reach out to me. I have my contact details at the end of this webinar as well. You can call into our support line too, and anybody should be able to help you out. But yes, this is super easy to set up. Really, it is the most beneficial thing you could do to save you time and automate.
Yeah, guys, and I would say for those of you that are using Automate today, everything that we're covering today is really just giving you the full capability of how you can take advantage of every aspect of Automate. So little things like this, setting up CAD settings, the dental integration button, the cloud editor, being able to edit back in dental system. I think all of those things just give you that extra, tool to be able to accomplish and get the most out of Automate.
Yeah, I got a question on how long does it take to set up? It really only takes 3 to 5 minutes setting up a profile, if that. If you're setting up each individual doctor, that may take you a little while. That's why we recommend doing profiles like I did with light occlusion, heavy occlusion, really what you're really wanting to gain there. 3 minutes tops probably to get you set up as soon as you know where you're going. So if you really need any help, if you need any help, definitely reach out to us.
Guys, and I see a question here. If are you able to use your own library? So we'll get into a little bit of the different anatomy styles that we have. We do have 3 different anatomy styles. So once we get to that point, we can talk a little bit more about that. All right, so I'm going to jump into margin line design. So another awesome feature that we have available is you do have the ability to mark your own margin. So a lot of the times when you have an IO scan where there may be some blood, saliva, or tissue in the way, and it's kind of hard to know for sure where that margin is, Automate isn't perfect. As Sarah mentioned in the beginning, we have a 91% success rate, but it doesn't get it right every single time. So on cases like that, where you have a little bit of hesitation on whether or not Automate's going to nail that margin, I would highly recommend marking the margin on your own inside a dental system. And then as long as you save that and move on to the next step, it's gonna maintain that margin throughout the entire process. This is also a very useful tool if you have like a model tied to it, for example. It's going to carry that margin all the way through the process so that when you're ready to design the model, once you get that crown back, it's going to have that shared margin line. So any case that you're sending that has a model with it, or you have any questions on the margin itself, I would recommend marking the margin here. We did also just barely recently launch another feature where you can actually edit your scans. In the past, you did have the ability to edit your scan, but it was a little bit of a challenge because you had to actually export that saved file and then recreate an order. But you now have the ability to adjust bytes and edit that scan so that that'll also travel with the case. So I have a little demo video here where we can kind of walk through that process.
And Cole, when you say edit scans, what do you mean by that?
So you can edit if you have an area where there's a tight space on the prep and you want to take that down a little bit, or as I mentioned earlier, if it's a iOS scan and there's a little bit of blood, saliva, or tissue in the margin area that may be affecting the fit, you have the options to go in there inside of your sculpt and make those minor edits, save that, and then send that through to Automate, and it'll carry that over. So you can see here, if you want to go ahead and push play here, I've got a single unit posterior crown. I'm going to go ahead and set it up just like any other standard case. And then once I have that all ready to go, I'm going to open the design. Give it a minute here to catch up. And this will be the same process for both margin marking and adjusting the bite as well. So you can do all of those things in the same step. So I've got an IO scan here. I'm going to click on this option here to go back so I can sculpt my scans. Once that comes up, I have that sculpt tool for my lower jaw here. And I'm just going to make a couple little minor edits here. So I'm going to make an obvious one here on the prep, just so that you guys can see that carry through as we send it through Automate. And then I'm also going to take a little bit of the tissue off on this mesial spot here, just so that we can see how that will carry through as well. One thing I see a lot of labs doing is when they do make these edits, if you make any kind of edits to the prep itself, make sure you mark the margin after that, because then you're going to have that that same process throughout the whole workflow. So I'm going to go ahead and move forward. I'm going to mark the margin here, make some minor edits to that based on the sculpting that I did. So once I'm happy with that, you can see here in this area that I've removed and on the prep here, I'm going to go ahead and save that. And then all I do from here is close. I'm going to come back into Dental System after that's been saved. And then I'll simply send through this dental integration button. And you'll notice once this case is ready, I'll choose my turnaround time, contacts, and occlusion. As soon as this case is ready, I'll be able to look through the screenshot images and see those changes that have been made.
And I just got to put out there that the button may look a little different depending on what version you're on. So 21 will look different than 22 or 23.
So again, you can see where I've made that obvious edit to the prep, and then I've cut away some of that tissue here. And I also have my marked margin. Another great thing is you still have the full capability to do any kind of edits inside the browser here, as we'll get into a little bit more detail on that. So I'm going to go ahead and open my edit in the browser here so I can show you those areas of the scan that have been edited. You can kind of see on the inside of this internal aspect of the crown where I've made that edit. And then also on my working model, the little divot I put here on the prep and then along the tissue area. So again, this is just barely launched about a week ago. So any of those IO cases that you were kind of on the fence in the past about sending to Automate, you do now have this option, which makes it really nice and simple to go through that process. And as far as the version for that, as long as you're on 2021 or newer, you have that option to send through the integration and be able to maintain those edits. So as I mentioned earlier, we do have the 3 occlusal styles. The anatomy itself is the same anatomy, but we give you a little bit more depth as far as, the separation between the grooves, the dissectional grooves here, and then we just have, a little bit more defined as you go from mature to youthful. So in the past, we just had the regular library. So now, depending on the teeth and the arch, I recommend, taking a look at those occlusal surfaces and finding what's going to work best for that particular arch.
We have a couple questions real quick. What version does this work with? 2016? I think they're talking about the editor scans. In any version that you're sending to Automate, it does take 2016 through 2023. The button only works though for 21, 22, or 23. So do keep that in mind. The integration button to send, receive back, and edit is only 21, 22, and 23. And then I have another one. Do preferences work for AI or human design? Do preferences work for AI or human design? I'm assuming you're talking about the doctor CAD setting preferences, Tim. I'm not too sure on that one, but the doctor specific CAD settings don't travel over with the human design. They do travel over with AI. So do keep that in mind. On the two different platforms, that is a difference that is done there.
One thing you can do though, that's actually a really good question, is we do have the ability to set up grouping within our platform on the technician side. So for example, if you wanted to have 3 different doctor settings on there, similar to what we offer through Automate, you can actually create those same grouping categories on our platform and apply those with a one-click button. So that's something we can also help you get set up with if that's something you're interested in.
Absolutely. And further along on that one, it's under your location tab, under design preferences, you're going to see design guide groups, and that's where you go to set those up that Cole was just talking about. Is there a function to create reduction coping at the same time as a crown?
Not inside of Automate, no.
So if you're wanting to send a coping and a crown, you're going to have to send 2 different orders. And at this point, you can send both cases through the button, but you can't have both offerings in the same case at the same time. That's where it gets a little sticky there. So if you're wanting a crown, it has to have crowns in the orders. If you have anything else, it'll reject it because it has unknown data in there. On to the next.
So we have 2 different contact solutions for you, our standard contact and our broad contacts. What this means is the value you enter is going to be the same. So if you wanted minus 0.02 for your contacts, that area is still going to measure at that 0.02, but it's basically just going to be a larger space that it's covering. So you can kind of see here in these images. I would say, Sarah, correct me if I'm wrong, but the majority of our users are going for the broad contacts over the standard contacts just because they find it more fitting for their technicians.
Yeah, a lot of them feel it's more appropriate for what they design in-house. We do have a few that use the standard, but I mean, you can touch up any case really on the contact side.
Yeah, it's all just kind of personal preferences as far as that goes. Another exciting thing, we do offer multiple units in a single arch. So if you have a case that's all posterior units, Automate's going to be able to design all those units. One thing that it can't do today is we can't do crowns opposing each other, so they do have to be in the same arch. We don't have bridges yet. It's something that I'm hoping we can start pushing on soon, but we do have a new feature. Well, it's actually been around for a while, but we're trying to get more people to use it because it's very exciting, is our full arch workflow. So it's been simplified to where you can set up an order for a full arch, as you see here, inside a dental system. Once you send that to Automate, it's going to design just the posteriors, which will then be able to give you the opportunity to bring that back into dental system and design the anteriors against those posteriors. So I actually have a quick video on this as well that I can go over. So you can see here, I've got this 12 unit posterior or 12 unit full arch case. I'm gonna just do a quick 3D preview. Got some nice preps here. I'm gonna go ahead and send this to Automate. One thing you wanna make sure of is you have your mixed orders set up inside of Automate. So you'll see here, these 4 options under your settings, you need to make sure those are selected. So once that's ready to review, it's gonna give you a series of screenshots for each margin marking and each prep. And it'll bring up the crown for each position here. And then the nice thing here is you can make any edits you want inside the browser, if that's something you want to do. But in this case, I'm just going to go ahead and download that back into Dental System. Once that's been downloaded, we can do a quick 3D preview again to see how that looks. And you can see here that it's left my posteriors out. Now what happens is when you want to go into redesign, you have couple options. You can still work on those posterior units that Automate has already populated, but it's also going to bring you up the proposal for the anteriors as a standard case, just as though you're familiar with today. So you can come through. We've got a couple users that will actually take this case and instead of designing it themselves, they'll actually resubmit it to design services for our technicians to design a lucid case for the anterior portion. But this is just really nice because it gives you the opportunity to have a little bit more control over your anterior units if that's something that, you know, maybe your doctor or patients want to be a little more strict with and have a little more flexibility on how they want that to look. So I highly encourage you to try out this feature. It makes it really nice. I did a little time study with some of our designers just to see how beneficial it was for them on a full arch case, and they were able to cut their design time in half because, I mean, the posteriors came in perfect and nice, and they were just able to design those anteriors right against that. So again, really nice workflow. If you guys have any questions on it, let us know. But it's very straightforward. There's really nothing you need to do in advance. Just send it just like a regular case to automate.
We have a question. It says, automate works only for crown and bridge or implants as well. So automate is only for crowns, copings, night guards, simple models, and forming models now as well. And we will show those later on, but bridges aren't available yet. You can do a workaround with implants. It won't design the implant for you. It will design a crown over top, but it's a kind of a long about way to do it. If you're interested in that, let us know. We can walk you through that. It really makes more sense for you to design it first, design it yourself when you're doing the implants, but you can do a workaround for that as well. What is the download fee? So download fee all is based on turnaround time. So we have a 5-minute, a 30-minute, and a 10-hour option for you. I should know these by heart. The 30-minute is $1.79. Hang on, $2.99. 30-minute is $2.99. 10-hour is $1.99, and 5-minute is $14.99 for the crowns. Crowns and copings are all the same price. Oops, it's playing it again. With every case, you do get a solo die. So keep that in mind, even on your large cases, like if you do a full mouth restoration, you're going to get a solo die for each one of those individual teeth as well. And this really is for your modelless cases, your modelless workflow, that sort of thing. You're going to notice that the last 4 of whatever file name you send is going to be engraved on that die. So keep that in mind. If you need to do a check model, make sure it's something that you're going to be able to identify it as.
We also have the edit automate crown. You can edit your automate crowns inside the cloud-based editor. So I think this is something that we can give you some different, views on how to use that. It's very, very simple. You can see here with the cloud-based editor on the left and dental system on the right, you do have a little bit of a limited as far as the tools you can use, but it still makes it very nice if you want to, make some minor adjustments like adding and smoothing, removing material, maybe making some minor adjustments to your contacts and occlusion. Again, if you're familiar with the tools inside of dental system, then I would say that these tools kind of react pretty similar to the same process. So it makes it really easy and nice to make those edits. But if you need to make more, adjustments to your contacts and occlusion with your set values that you have inside of the auto cutting, then obviously you're going to want to bring that back into dental system. But it's something we can show you guys, and it's very, very simple to use. We actually have a case here, a quick video on how we can walk you through the process of how it looks inside the editor. So again, another nice thing with this is you only pay for what you download. So even if you go into the editor and you make changes and you're still just not quite happy with the result, you can always reject it, and you're only going to get charged for what you actually download. So you can see with this, we have a few different sliders where you can turn on and off your antagonist and your working model. We also have an occlusal map that's already pre-built based on the occlusion and contacts that you've entered. So we give you this little heat map over here on the bottom left, and then an indicator that gives you a numerical value to see, where you're at as far as your distance to your neighboring teeth and your occlusion. So with that, you have some simple tools: add, remove, and smooth. So what I like to recommend is when you're working on your occlusion, you can turn on that heat map and kind of get a really good reference point as to where those areas are going to be built up. And again, with the add, smooth, and remove tools, you also have a radius and strength. So you can go in there and adjust those sizing if that needs to be done. Same thing with your contacts. Turn on that heat map, give a good reference point. And then any edits that you make here, once you hit done and you bring that back into Dental System, those are all travel through. So I personally like to use this for minor edits. I feel like it's faster if you're just, making a slight adjustment to the cusp tip rather than having to bring it back through Dental System, but you still have the ability to bring it in either way. So you can either do the edits inside of the cloud editor, or you can make edits and bring it back into Dental System and do further edits if that's needed.
Are you guys serving as the lab to fabricate the crowns and bridges and other prostheses? No, we are strictly just design only. We can work with a manufacturer that you choose. So if you send to, not on Automate side, but on design service side, if you send a case for our normal technicians to design, we are integrated with different manufacturers that we can then forward the case on to for it to be produced for you, or you can produce it locally if you need be. On Automate, it is more of a manual process. So if you need to send it to somebody else to manufacture for you, you then get the STL files, the STL and the PTS file that you need to send on for them to either print or mill whatever you're working on. Is the payment due immediately, weekly, or monthly? So the best thing about Automate is that it is a kind of like a preloaded card. When you first sign up, you get $50 free just to play around with it, and that's good for 90 days. So you use it within that 90 days, you just got $50 free worth of designs. But the only time that you actually purchase something is when you want to add funds to your account. So it's like a prepaid card. You're going to add those funds, and then as you accept cases, it's going to take away funds for the amount of money that you chose. So either the turnaround time, or if you have multiple units in the same case, it's going to be charged per unit. So keep that in mind. But yeah, it is really nice. If you reject a case, you get charged $0. So there really is no risk in using it. Copings. We're going to move on to copings. That was pretty much everything on crowns at this moment. If you have some questions specifically on that, definitely let us know. We're going to open up Q&A too at the end as well for anybody who hasn't gotten their questions answered. But for copings, you can send it the same way through the button. There is 3 preferences we need. We need the rounding radius, how sharp or dull you really want those cusps to be. And then the extra occlusal distance. The way Automate works is that it designs a crown first, and then the cutback value that you give it is how much it's reducing it by. So there is no facial cutbacks, there is no modifications to it. It is just a full reduction coping. So that extra occlusal distance goes into effect before that cutback value gets applied. So definitely just remember that you're going to have a huge gap there if you try and adjust that. You are able to do multiple units just like crowns, posterior units, and the best thing about copings is you can do anterior units as well. A lot of people think it's faster for them to design, but if you don't have to design it, why would you? You could spend your time on other cases that you actually need done in person that actually need your attention. Definitely send these off. You'll get them back. You have the ability to edit these as well. I'm going to let you go into the night guards, Cole.
Sure. So we'll get into night guards as well. Night guards is a little bit different. It's an open platform. So we accept DCM, STL, PLY, and OBJ. With night guards, we do not need a complete 3-shape order. So if you're able to send these scans either in occlusion, interdigitated, or open to the position that you've pre-opened for that patient, Automate will take it from there. Move to the next slide.
There we go. Wasn't letting me click.
All right, so there's a few different preferences that I kind of want to go over. We have our offset, which is basically going to be the gap between the teeth and the actual internal aspect of the night guard. So very similar to any of you that are already aware of the settings inside of Splint Studio. A lot of these are very similar. We have our wall thickness, which is really going to be your buccal and lingual side. Our occlusal thickness, this is going to be what you're going to enter in as how far you want that distance to antagonist. Our crevice blockout, this is going to be a value that fills in kind of all the sharp edges on the occlusal aspect of it before it designs the night guard. So if you have a case that has really deep anatomy or any areas in the scan that might have some discrepancies, the crevice blockout option makes it really nice to kind of fill in those areas so that you have a more passive fit. And then lastly, we have the inward retention. This is going to act the exact same way as retention inside of Splint Studio. So what I recommend is, depending on which printer and which material you're using, start with those values and then print something out. Maybe get familiar with the settings, and then if you need to adjust from there, you can make that change. We also have the cam orientation option. So depending on your nesting strategy, we give you a few different angles that you can have that cam output, which makes it really nice. So kind of as I mentioned before, we have a couple different options on how to manage the bite. If you send a case that's in centric occlusion that's already interdigitated, it's going to vary depending on the value you give us for that occlusal space. So however much you enter for the occlusion, we are going to open that bite to that point, and it's going to be measured in the posterior area on the lingual cusp of the molars, and then it'll slightly increase as it goes towards the anterior like a ramp. So just keep that in mind. If you have a patient that you want to open their bite prior and scan that can be sent as well. If you do it that way, then we're just going to ignore the occlusal value and go off of however much that value is open. So I want to say it's is it 0.5 and above, Sarah?
Yeah, 0.5.
Okay, awesome.
Real quick, we have to download free or buy Automate service. So the service is actually free to use. It's a URL link that you enter into your web browser. And then anytime you download a case is when you're actually getting charged for it. And then the charge for night guards, there's 10 minutes, 1 hour, and 10-hour option for turnaround time. The 10 minutes is $29.99. The 1 hour is $14.99, and the 10 hours is $9.99. And is this recording available? Yes, we will have it available. We will definitely email it out to everybody once we have it uploaded to our YouTube channel.
Thanks, Sarah.
Yeah, and I'm going to answer some of the other ones towards the end.
So just like copings and crowns, we also have the ability to edit inside the browser. This is something I see quite a bit with users. So again, you have your option to go through your series of screenshots, and if there's anything that you want to adjust, you simply just go into the cloud editor. All the tool functions are going to be very similar to what I showed for crowns. The one thing to keep in mind here is the internal aspect of this, and the border is protected, so you can't necessarily change the border. All you're doing is making changes to the outer surfaces. So if you turn on your occlusal map for seeing where you're making contact, you can come in here and make some minor edits to that. Maybe you want to make a little bit more of a strong contact in the canine area, or fill in some areas, or just smooth the surface in general. It's a really nice tool to come through and make those changes. And then obviously as that's done, it's going to maintain all those edits, and then you have the ability to print the case. So a lot of our users like to have a more smooth surface on the outside, and some of them like to have a little bit more of a scalloped look between each unit. So it just kind of depends. It's personal preference. So it's really up to you if you want to make those changes. You also can update your screenshot images. So after you make the edits, if you hit update, what that's going to do is it's going to recalculate the edits that you've made, and then you can scroll through and see what those come out with. Do you want to take over on this, Sarah?
Yeah, sure. So orientation and tagging, again, like Cole said, there is an option for you to do CAM orientation. So really how much you want this on your build plate, what orientation you really want on your build plate. So you got your orientation and you got your random ID tag. As you can see in the middle picture there, that ID tag is a hang tag. It is not an embossed tag. So keep that in mind. It's not like you would really think a normal occlusal guard's going to have. It's going to be a hang tag, so you're going to have to pull that off and then polish up that guard afterward. I'll let you go into these ones, Cole.
Yeah,
You're the pro.
We have a couple edge cases that we wanted to show here, just some things that we've seen where Automate had some issues. So you can see here we've got a case with a missing tooth. What Automate's going to do if you don't address this in advance is it's going to try and fill that area in, which is going to cause problem with seating, obviously, because we've got a little bit of a overhang here and an undercut. So what I recommend with something like this is, one, you can either just simply put a blob of wax in there before you scan, or maybe throw in a little denture tooth just to block out that area. But you also do have the option to make those scan edits inside of Dental System and then send that order, and it's going to carry that through. So we can kind of show you another case here that we saw. Pretty straightforward stone model here, nothing that looks too out of the ordinary. But you can see Automate almost tried to design like a little bit like this weird denture / partial thing. And what it did is it thought that was a tooth. So I think it's important to know, again, Automate isn't perfect. It's going to run into problems like this. So it's always good to address these kind of things. So again, buzz that off with a handpiece or go into the software, smooth that out, resubmit it, reject the first one so you're not charged. And then here you go. You got a nice smooth night guard that came out perfectly. That we've recently done a new update. So we were having some issues where you see over here on the bottom left, when we had small gaps or diastemas between teeth, where the border would kind of jump up and have less coverage along the buccal surfaces. So we've made some changes to the algorithm to where now we can kind of fill that in and maintain that border all the way through the posterior. So if this is something you were seeing in the past and you were a little on the fence with, the results you were getting, this should be completely solved now. So I recommend, trying it again and seeing if that's a better fit for you now. We also have this Lego option. So inside the Automate page, if you go into, is it settings, Sarah, where you find this?
Information page.
Information page, thank you. So you have the ability to download a series of different of this night guard here that will fit over some Legos with different settings for offset and retention. So it gives you a good ability to kind of know and understand what your print settings are. That way, when you're ready to go and start producing live cases, you have a good solid point of reference to start with as far as settings.
Yeah, and this is really mainly there not to waste product on your end and really to dial in those print settings like Cole was saying. So the test files come with 3 different files, and you're able to see your retention and your offset values being honored.
And then we also have, go ahead, Sarah.
I was gonna say, we now have simple models too. This just came out, I want to say right before Chicago. I think we were on the plane to Chicago when this actually came out. And it's a really nice feature. It is a simple model, so there is no articulators. You really only have the option to choose hollow or solid. And if you choose hollow, those drain holes are automatically put in there for you. You are able to choose the base height as well. You just don't have, you know, as a normal model that you would design in-house, you can't add the articulators or anything like that.
Yeah, guys, and one thing I've seen with this is we've had a couple users comment about if they have a scan from a third-party scanner, an iOS scanner where we won't necessarily know what that iOS scanner is. We've seen some terrible scans come through with some major problems and errors with the scans. But once those are submitted through Automate, it does a really good job about trimming all that extra data and getting rid of the, you know, the scatter and producing a nice model. So it's also a really good tool to process a model and get something out without having to run into different errors with various different softwares or IO scanners.
We're getting saying, talk about how it removes artifacts.
Yes. And that's what I would just basically was going over. I actually sent a case today to kind of test and see how the feature worked. And I just wanted to pull it in and see how many artifacts the case had. And I had over 320 different areas on the scan that were having issues. But I was able to bring that exact same scan into Automate, and it designed the simple model no problem. So really, really nice feature.
And this is an open platform, just like Night Guards and just like forming models. So DCM, STL, POI, or OBJ files. So any scanning source that you have, you're able to send for this offering.
And then we just recently released our forming models. This has been really exciting as well. We have two different fixture styles that you see here on the right. With this, you also have the ability to edit that trim line. And then we have a few different options as far as blockout goes. So I would encourage you to give this a try as well. It's very exciting. You can see here, I put together a quick little video on the editing process of this. So I've got my fixture here, and any kind of edits I want to make to this trim line, I can just come over here on the top left, click this icon, and I have the full ability to, you know, design this however I want. Along with this, any changes you make to the model itself, to the scan itself. So if I add, remove, or smooth, that trim line is going to auto adjust and auto snap to whatever I've designed on the model. Fix this little area here. And then I'm just going to make some minor little changes to the model itself over here. So you can see anytime I make those adjustments, that trim line will auto snap to the area that I've made changes to. So really nice feature. Yeah, and again, you have the two different fixture styles for this as well.
And Cole, for a lot of people who are not into these yet, what do forming models allow you to do?
There's multiple different things that you can use them for. People are using them for retainer models or even bleach trays, aligners. So it's kind of all depends on personal preference and what works best. But yeah, if you have any other, you know, more in-depth questions, we can definitely answer those and schedule something to go over some of the different benefits we have for that.
Perfect. I did want to touch base. We did have this question as well. Where can I see the recording? I missed the first half. We upload all of our recordings, all of our knowledge base videos to our YouTube channel. We will also send out an email once it is uploaded to give everyone who registered for this webinar the link to go view that and see it. That way you can go back and really hone in on what you're wanting to learn more of, so you can go back and rewatch what you're needing. My contact details, if you need them, are below. You can email me, you can call me. If you scan that little QR code with your phone, it'll pull up all of my details. You can reach me that way. We're going to open it up for questions. I know we've been taking them throughout as well, but there was one. What do you see as advantages of using Automate versus sending the case to your lab via the web and just have them do everything, including fabricating the crown?
So that, I mean, that's a great question. One of the huge benefits I see with Automate is it really gives you the ability to focus on other areas of the lab. So if you have a large volume of cases, what we see with a lot of users is they'll take, everything that can be sent to Automate, and they'll try and get that out as soon as possible. That way they can schedule their time and their day a little bit more to focus on the other cases that wouldn't be ready for Automate. For example, like a bridge or anterior cases, it gives them that extra time in the lab, gives them kind of like an extra technician almost in a way, to help with that.
Absolutely. And one of our quotes that we use quite frequently, because it's an amazing quote, is that it gives you a technician back in your lab. So if you can't afford, like people are calling out sick, you're just really limited on bodies in the lab, you're able to use Automate as a tool to help you pull a technician that would be spending time on these cases over to the more advanced ones that you really want them working on. Also, the quick turnaround time will allow you to, if you upload 50 cases at once, you're able to do that, and all 50 are going to be back within that turnaround time. That's something that you aren't guaranteed with a human designer. Those will come in staggering stages, because not one human can work on 50 cases all at once like Automate can. It really is beneficial for you to view it all.
Looks like we got another question here. Will the design be for any material set up for zirconia, wax, or PMMA? It's a great question. So depending on the material that you're setting up the order with inside of 3Shape, that's all going to travel with the case. So your cement spaces, your extra cement space, your margin line offset, your manufacturing process, all of that that's set up within the actual 3Shape order travels with the case and is applied to the crown. Then when you actually download the STL, it's going to match up for production. Let's see some other questions here.
When do you see Automate going to dentures? I feel like this is becoming a more popular question lately.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question. It's hard to say for sure, but I will say that we're constantly, trying to make enhancements to the software, making it better with our existing indications, and trying our best to add new indications as we continue to move forward. Yeah, I can't really give a set date on when I think it can happen, but I would say the next thing I'm really hoping to push for is actually bridges.
Yes, I'm pushing for bridges too. It seems to be the most popular one that people are asking for right now.
Let's see, copings will come with proper support. I think we probably already answered that. Yes. So again, that's all based on the inputs that you provide to Automate. So you have full control over that, which I think that's one amazing thing about Automate. And Sarah mentioned in the very beginning, you can either be completely hands-off and have Automate do it all for you, but you still have the ability to have full control. And I think that's why Automate is such a beneficial tool for the technician to really, help offload some of those things, but they still have the control if they want to put their final touch on it. I myself am a technician. I've been a technician for over 15 years. And in the lab, if I were using Automate today, I probably would put my final little touches on it, just because that's in our nature. That's what we all do. So you do have that option to do that, which makes it really nice.
Yeah, and I'm going to show you where Automate actually sits. We got that question. Let me share my screen again. So Automate is, again, a web-based app. You go to the URL automate.3shape.com, and it's really nice that you can actually sign in with a Communicate ID if you already have one. That way you're not having multiple logins for different things. Or if you really want to use your own email or a lab email, right here down at the bottom is the try it for free button. And then you just fill out this short form. It maybe takes you 2 minutes tops to be able to create an account and automatically start sending.
I see a question. Do you have cloud-based settings? Yes. So as we showed earlier in the webinar, we have the cloud-based editor for all of our indications. So you have the ability to make any changes to that. I got another question. How many crowns could you do per day using Automate? That, I mean, a lot of that can depend on the technician. If a technician takes anywhere from, I don't know, 10 minutes to design a case outside of Automate, I mean, you could send easily 200-300 cases to Automate and just do minor little changes to them. I think 200 to 300 per day is simple for most users.
I was under the impression that Automate would design occlusal more like the rest dentition. Right now it's normal library with 3 choices, correct? Yes. So the library choice for Automate, it's one tooth style, and then the only thing that changes is the occlusal surface. So that's where your mature, regular, or youthful options come in for you to be able to choose one that's closer resembling whatever patient's mouth you're scanning. Can I order Automate design without your dental system? Yes. So if you want a night guard, a simple model, or a forming model, you're able to upload just the STL, PLY, DCM, OBJ file to the site, and it'll produce those 3 indications for you. For crowns and copings, you do have to have an order set up, but it doesn't strictly have to be 3Shape. So 3Shape is just more integrated. You have more to be able to use with 3Shape. If you're an exocad user, you can upload exocad orders as long as it has that .dental project file in there. Also, if you have a scan source that exports out .dental project files, you're able to upload those as well. So it really is open to your needs. Right now, though, crowns and copings do need that material database to be able to design for you. So it takes your material settings and your manufacturing settings into consideration when designing. It uses the minimum thickness values and all of that, so it's not designing something that won't fit the mouth. Is a CAM5 output file supported?
Yes, it should be, as long as it's, when you set up your order, if you have that manufacturing process during setting up the order, that should carry through, and you should still have that same output file instead of Automate.
Other than the upload download buttons, what features are not available for versions 2020 and earlier? So you aren't able, unless you're exporting out your orders, you aren't able to bulk upload. If you want to send more than 1 case at once, you can't do that without going through the button. You can't do orders that have models included. So if you have a crown and a model order, before you used to have to only send the crown. Right now, if you have that 21 integration turned on, you can send the case with the model already in there in the order form, send it to Automate, it'll design the crown, and when you pull it back in, then you can finish out the model on your end. Also, anterior unit. So if you have a full mouth restoration, you aren't able to send that in the more recent versions. You have to turn that on in the settings area as well with the integration. So there's more useful tools to upgrade. And honestly, if you aren't on 21 yet, I really think you should take the time to go and do that. There are more benefits and more features in 21 than the other ones, and it is easier to use. I know a lot of people are little hesitant to upgrade when new releases come out, but right now we're already on 23. 21 is definitely a sound system that you can upgrade to.
At this point, most, if not all, implant companies are on board with 21, so there really is no downside to upgrading. So I recommend upgrading to 21. It'll just give you that extra abilities inside of Automate.
Again, this will be uploaded to our YouTube channel, and we will send out an email to everybody who registered for it with that link. So if you missed anything, or if you really want to go back and view what we went over, you'll definitely have that availability to do that.
If something comes up, you guys, please don't hesitate to reach out to us. We're always here to help. If you have, questions on some of the settings that are involved inside a control panel, setting up the integration, or setting up CAD, your dentist specific CAD settings, any of that, we'd be happy to walk you through that and get you on board there.
Looks like we don't have any other questions, so I am going to end this, and then again, feel free to reach out to us. We will be sending out an email. Have a great day, everyone.
Thank you, guys.